Hey, so you're thinking about moving to North Idaho? Maybe you're thinking about retiring to North Idaho. Well, if that's the case, today's video is for you. Dave and I are going to break down some of the pros and cons of retiring right here in North Idaho. Hey guys, our team gets calls, texts, emails every single day from people just like you trying to learn more about North Idaho. So if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, tap the notifications bell. That'll keep you up to date on all of our latest content. And remember, if you're looking to move right now or 12 months from now, give us a holler. Let's get that conversation started. All right, let's jump right in. Pros and cons. We're going to start out with some of the pros and we're going to flow through this list. There are more pros than cons. Spoiler alert. Obviously, Dave and I are biased. We live here. We love it here. And we know plenty of people that retire here. A lot of our clientele are former first responders and veterans, and they are retiring in droves, coming up here to God's country. So we're going to break it down. Let's jump right in. What's number one, Dave?
Number one is the natural beauty and outdoor activities. Look, you can do so much. People ask all the time, they say, well, I'm really into, skiing and hiking and backpacking. You can do all of it. All of that stuff is up here, especially with the lakes. I mean, we have amazing mountains up here, forests, tons of national forest. It really is an outdoor wonderland up here. You can do so much from hunting to skiing to winter sports, summer sports. If you own a boat, being out here in the summer on the lake, really being outdoors is probably the heart of Idaho.
Just having access to year-round activities is such a draw for some people. We get a lot of guys that are like, man, I'm into archery hunting or whatever. And it's so easy to get tied into those communities here and find other people that are doing the same stuff. And now you're on your way and you've got some new partners and you're hitting woods or, hitting the slopes or hitting the lake. All of that stuff is so easily accessible here. And that is a huge draw.
Yep. The next thing also is affordable cost of living. So when we talk about that now, we're actually through the housing in the negatives, in the cons, because prices have gone up. We'll get to that. But the actual cost of living up here, when you look at your registration fees from your DMV to the cost of food, to the cost for entertainment and the things that you do on a daily basis and the cost of utilities, all those things adding up makes it really affordable to live in the Panhandle.
Yeah, I actually just had this question. Someone called me yesterday and was asking about utilities. And for example, I'll give you a personal example. My previous home, which was in Coeur d'Alene, 4,000 square foot home. If you've met my wife, you know that she does not like to be hot or cold. So the house is always comfortable, right? So 4,000 square foot home, always comfortable year round. Our average utility bills for gas and electric was under $300. I would say more in the $250 range for the most part. So if that, if you're judging, if say you're coming from California and deal with PG&E on a daily basis, you're probably 3 to 4 times that cost in utilities. It is that much cheaper here, which is phenomenal.
The next one to go into is crime. Crime is really low in North Idaho. Now, we always talk about this comparison between Washington and Idaho. You go over the border into Spokane, it's much different. But being former law enforcement up here in Coeur d'Alene, I can tell you this. If you were to ask our canine officers, which if you're law enforcement or a first responder, canines go to a lot of the hot calls. They're bored. Okay. There's not a lot going on. Do we have a lot of calls for service every day? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of people that live up here now, but your part one crimes, your crimes where you're actually, violent crimes against other people, those just don't happen up here. There's too many people. And what did William Kirk say? An armed society is a polite society. We just don't have those types of crime rates.
And I think we should piggyback on that with homelessness, because that's another big question. I had a friend visit from California this weekend, and he's a cop, and we're driving around downtown Coeur d'Alene, and he's doing what cops do, and he's looking around. And he's like, dude, where are all the tents? And I'm like, this is what it is. And, commonly people will say, hey, well, it's the climate, it's too cold. And I use Spokane for an example, which is 30 miles away and has the exact same climate. It is overrun with homeless people. So it's not tense. It's not the climate. Well, it is. It's the political climate up here and the community and local law enforcement that keeps that at bay. We keep our community very clean, very safe, and we like it that way.
Next one is taxes. So tax benefits up here, there's quite a range of tax benefits up here that actually help. The biggest one is property taxes. I know for our home, I think our home assesses around $800 and we pay about I think we were at $2,200 a year this year in property taxes. So we also have homeowners exemptions. You get $125,000 off the assessed value of your home. So there's a lot of tax benefits for living up here, and a lot of stuff as well with vehicles. We talk about that for the DMV. You trade in a vehicle, you actually get a tax credit for the value of that vehicle. So there's a lot of tax credits in Idaho.
Yeah, sales tax in particular, if you're curious about that, is about 6% in Idaho for the most part. And Dave touched on the property tax thing. So I have a really cool interactive map because the property taxes are rather confusing up here. It is very geographically dependent. So if you look on that map or you send me an address, I can plug it into the map and tell you what the property tax is going to be, at least the levy rate on the house. And they vary from like 0.6% to maybe 0.9% if you're waterfront. So most of the communities up here, they are much cheaper than other areas that you might be moving from.
And I don't think Newsom would do this, but Brad Little this year, we had a surplus in property taxes and a bunch of people got property tax credits this year on their homes. In fact, you saw taxes. Some people were like, man, I paid $2,000 last year and now I'm paying only $1,000 this year. So there was a surplus. He gave it back to the people, which is awesome. High quality healthcare. So definitely if you're coming from places like Southern California where you have UCLA and Loma Linda and stuff like that, yeah, certainly we can't necessarily compete with that. However, for the amount of people that there are in North Idaho, especially when you consider Spokane having Sacred Heart and some level 1 trauma centers over there, we have a lot of specialty healthcare centers up here. And I think that is because there's a lot of retired folk up in the area.
So that's another question we get a lot. Oh, am I going to need health? Like, do you guys have healthcare? I'm like, we have it all. I think that's definitely a common misconception is that this area is really small and does not have those facilities, but they are here. There's a big VA hospital right over the border in Spokane. And then there are some, sub hospitals for VA as well. So that is here. You get your VA benefits, get your VA healthcare. Coeur d'Alene has a great hospital. Sandpoint has a hospital. And, if you need anything bigger, like a specialty children's hospital, anything like that, it's 30 miles away in Spokane. So next one up, tight-knit communities. This place is like nowhere I've ever been, and I've lived in 8 different states. North Idaho is a fantastic community. And once you get up here, our advice is always to, hey, go out and do the things that interest you and see what other kind of people are out there that are doing the same stuff, because you're going to find your people by doing that. We have just endless outdoor groups, retiree groups, sports, whatever you want, you can find it up here. And I think that is the key to finding quality of life, is to get yourself out of the house, integrate into that community of like-minded individuals, and you will find great happiness that way for sure.
And I think the fact that our population is so much less than larger states and larger areas, that you're going to a lot of these things with your kids. And the truth is it's a lot of the same people. So you're coming across the same people that have the same interests all the time. Like I said, it just really makes it easy to make friends and get in those clubs and those groups.
Yeah, tons of farmers markets, community music events downtown Coeur d'Alene, the fair, all of these things. Like, there's plenty to do to get the family out and just be around good people. And one thing I noticed here, as opposed to where I came from in California, you go to the county fair here and you're not having a bunch of gang members running around strutting their stuff. Like, it's just good, normal American people, and it's wonderful.
The next one is the distance to large cities. Now, you can look at this as a pro or con. We see it as a pro. We are not close to any major cities. Spokane would be the largest city in this region. And really, this is a regionalized area where once you leave the region, you have to travel quite a bit to get to a big city. I appreciate that. I don't want to be close to Seattle, San Francisco, LA, New York, Boston, any of these places. But we do have all the resources we need. The best resource, and we talk about it over and over, is we have Spokane International Airport. If you want to go somewhere, it's a 30-minute drive to Spokane International, and you can fly anywhere in the world.
All right, next up, mild summers. So if you're coming from another area that gets to be 115 degrees in the summertime and it's like walking outdoors in an oven, you're not going to find that here. We'll get a few days on average per summer that are over 100 degrees, but normally we're in the high 80s, low 90s, and it's just fantastic. It's like such a good time of year that I don't go on vacation in the summer. I don't leave here. If you ask me and you're my family member, like, let's go somewhere, I'm like, it ain't happening. Like, I'm staying here and I'm capitalizing on these amazing summer months. The days are like, I don't know. The sun comes up at like 4:30.
It's like 16-hour days, 17-hour days. It's a
long day, and you just maximize it and soak all the rewards up as you can.
Yep. And we usually have about a week where we'll break 100 degrees maybe for a week. But the most part, we usually sit in the 80s and 90s. And then having all the water here just makes it so easy to get cool.
Yeah. And I think one of my favorite things is that it does cool down in the evenings here. So, even if it's hot during the day, as soon as that sun dips and it's still like twilight, man, it starts to cool down. You can open the windows up in the house and just kind of enjoy that fresh air.
All right. Hopefully you're still with us. The cons of North Idaho. Look, we're just going to be blunt about these because there's some bad stuff in terms of living in North Idaho. Some things you really need to consider. If you're going to retire up here, the first thing is harsh winters. Look, we've been pretty lucky recently. We've had a couple decent winters, but we really haven't had what a lot of people would be considering a very heavy winter. You move up here and you get hit with a heavy winter, you can have feet worth of snow. That means snow plowing, shoveling your driveway, limited accessibility during storms, potential power outages. I mean, it can get nasty up here. Yeah, I haven't had to, what is it called where you pull the snow off your roof?
Is there a name for that?
There is a name for
Pulling
it.
the snow off your roof.
Sweeping your roof. I don't know what it's called. Shows how much I've had to do it. We haven't had to take any of the snow off of our roof. I mean, there's times where you have to do that. And the truth is you can get socked in pretty bad.
Yeah. And probably the hardest thing for people is there are months of just dreary weather where it's cold, maybe freezing or right around the freezing mark, and it's just cloudy. Sometimes we'll get rain in that time. It's just a hard time. And that's like January through April. Pretty consistently, you're going to have a lot of cloudy days, and that might wear on you. Obviously, there are ways to work around that, but it's something to keep in mind if you're thinking about moving up here. There is a chunk of time that's rough.
Yep. If you're going to visit North Idaho and you're like, this is the place we want to move, come visit us in April. Come visit us in February. See those months first so that you know what to expect.
All right, next up, limited urban amenities. Maybe you don't care about that. Maybe you want to live in the middle of nowhere and that's not a big deal. But maybe your wife wants to go shopping and, have that kind of downtown lifestyle. Depending on where you came from, you might find that North Idaho has limited access to all of those things for sure.
Yep. No In-N-Out, no Cheesecake Factory. There are some things, however, you know what? I kind of appreciate it because we do have a lot of mom and pop stuff up here. But yeah, you do have those limited amenities. I mean, for guys, especially shopping, pretty much most of the clothes I get are, well, they're free a lot of times. I try to find free clothes whenever I can.
Send us t-shirts.
Yeah, send us t-shirts. We have t-shirts. But honestly, you pretty much, especially for guys, there's really not like a lot of places to shop up here. You can shop at Buckle, I guess.
There's that.
Yeah, there's that. And then I guess everything else is out of sporting Cabela's. So as long as you wear Cabela's clothes, you're good.
I noticed the other day, I was talking about this with someone, there's not a lot of like downtown music venues. There's some smaller spots, Life Public House, they do music events there, but they're limited on capacity. There's the music in the park in the summertime, but there's no like real big venue unless you hop over the border and head into Spokane.
Limited public transportation. If you have relied in the past on any sort of public transportation and you think that's a thing, it's not. We have buses up here, but I wouldn't rely on any of them. It's difficult. You have to own a car up here. That's just really what it is. If you're going to live life in North Idaho, you have to have a car. Don't rely on any public transportation at all.
All right. Employment opportunities. Maybe you're retiring. Well, we're talking about retiring, so you probably are. But then you don't need employment opportunities unless you need a part-time job so you don't lose your mind and wife doesn't beat you out of the house. However, there are limited employment opportunities up here. So we have a lot of people that move here and they work remotely. That's cool. And then the hospitality and tourism industry is one of the biggest employers up here. So, if you are retired and you're looking for that part-time work, maybe you go drive the boat at the floating green at the Coeur d'Alene Resort. I don't know. But that is definitely a downside that we hear a lot is like, hey, there's not as many jobs and they're not as high paying jobs, right?
Correct. And one of the hard things too is that it's very seasonal. Well, summer, like we said, we don't even vacation in the summer because we like to be here in the summer. But that's when most of the work happens. So if you're a seasonal worker, you find yourself working as opposed to being on the lake, hunting, hiking, going out, backpacking, doing those things. There's that to consider as well. You don't want to have to work through that whole season.
Next up, internet and technology access. So now if you're living in town, like Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Hayden, one of the bigger towns, good chance you're going to have access to fiber optic internet. Where it becomes an issue is if you're heading up into the hills, you're going to get your 5 or 10 acres up on the mountains, you're going to have limited access to good high-speed internet. And you may have limited access to good cell phone coverage. There are pockets out there where cell phones are just crap, to be honest.
Yeah, cell phone coverage up here can be pretty bad sometimes.
Yeah, you know, one good option if you are out in the woods, Starlink is pretty popular, and it does provide a decent level of high-speed internet, but you know, it's nothing like fiber optic for sure.
The last one is so personal to us. It's housing costs. Look, housing costs have gone up in North Idaho. And to be quite frank, it has become a place where we have more demand than we do supply. So you've seen prices rise. Absolutely. So, you know, I wouldn't say that Idaho can necessarily compare to places like Texas and Tennessee and Alabama and Florida when it comes to home prices. I'm seeing people sell their homes here and move to Florida and pay for something cash. That used to be the thing. So many people would sell their home in Southern California and move here and pay cash. It's not that easy anymore. Prices have absolutely gone up. And I would say market-wise trend, I tell people this all the time. If you bought your house in 2018 or 19, you can roughly double the price of your house and take away about 20%. That's about where we sit in the market. So your $500,000 house then peaked at about $1 million and is worth about $800,000 now.
Yeah, pretty accurate. So yeah, if you're looking for cheap housing, North Idaho is probably not the spot for you. You know, there are some pockets. You head out to the Silver Valley, but once again, there are pros and cons to living in some of these more remote areas as well. So, you know, if you call us up and you want 20 acres and a 4,000 square foot house for $250,000, we're going to say, sorry, man, not happening. Hey, thank you guys for joining us on this video about the pros and cons of retiring right here in North Idaho. You know, obviously we love it here. We raise our families here. There are more pros than cons for us, and that makes it an easy decision for us, but that is a personal choice. So something to think about. Make sure you consider all the factors before you decide to move here, because there's nothing worse than leaving a year after you get here. I mean, it's great for us, but maybe not for you. Thanks again, guys. And remember, if you're looking to move right now or 12 months from now, give us a call, text, or email. We would love to help you make that smooth move right here to North Idaho.